My name is Elena, and you are watching a tutorial on how you can create an original, fresh spring greeting card for your special ones. On this occasion, we will go through detailed drawing of such delicate flowers as red poppies, combined with the hand lettering. By using flowers with lettering, one can create a range of beautiful compositions for any occasion, such as birthday, anniversary, wedding, etc. In my opinion, you can use this combination for almost any occasion. Once decided the event you are making card for, write quickly the quote you'd like to use. Prepare a quick composition to work over like this one. Proceed also to look for some references of the flowers you are about to use. In this case, poppies. In your browser, you'll get an infinite number of photographic references available. Armed with these sources, you can sketch a quick composition, placing the main element stains all over the canvas. Now, open Photoshop interface, choosing International Paper Standard A5 in the presets, and place it horizontally. Afterwards, drop your quick sketch inside of it. We'll use it as a very rough guide to our following process. Let's draw shapes resembling poppies petals in a separate layer by using dynamic hard brush. The singularity of this flower is that it only has 4 petals, but they are really big. Follow the contour shapes and place the central elements inside of it. Plants, stem, green pods overlapped by flowers every now and then. During this initial phase, it's important to take into consideration reference images, if you use them, as they will guide you during the essential drawing part, helping you to understand the forms your representation is composed of. For example, take your time and get to understand how the pollen of poppies looks like. Does it have the same texture as the stem, petals, or are they different? In our case, the stems have a singularity in a sense that they have what seems to be tiny hairs, and the petals are extremely fragile, with a tendency to be wrinkled easily. Now, we'll add to the composition some green weed, with a finishing resembling wheat. Place it every now and then inside of the canvas. Once redrawn all the elements of the composition, if it feels like moving any of them around, use Lasso tool and place the selected element where it suits better. Take a look. The general impression is that this kind of flower will need also a less flashy type of letters than the one on the roof. It will look much better with a plain italic letters following the same angle direction, just like these ones. OK, we'll create a new layer and pick up Lasso tool for a quick selection following the shapes drawn in the layer above, and we'll start filling with a light red color each flower. If you want to be precise from the beginning, you can also trace selection by using Pen tool. It will give you cutting edges and perfect curves. Right. The stems of the poppies, as well as young pods, have a rather dark greenish color, in sympathy with the red, but it's not the same green as the color of fresh grass. The grass is slightly lighter and has a more yellowish tonality. Consider adding some texture, and place some aleatory strokes every now and then around the flowers, and by using both types of green. It gives a rustic touch to the whole thing. Let's go for the darker colors in the central part of the poppies. Let's color with brown the seed-pod in the center of each flower, and then place a darker red below the petals that overlay the rest. In the case of the side view of flower, we'll place just some shades defining the outer petal form. Don't forget that there is a basal dark spot on each petal surrounding the pod. For this one, we'll use a really dark gray color. Time by time, we are getting to the tinier details. And now we will be able to place the greenish pollen on the pod. This pollen part is placed only on the top and simulates rounded shapes that somehow resemble daisy flower. The stamen surrounding the pod needs another dark gray filament. Use lasso and fill the selection with it. It's time to define letter style. We've already changed them from fancy handwritten version, but it needs to be better adjusted. For example, the stem width is too thin, so we need to use a larger brush in order to make strokes look more convincing. As it's springish cut, the lettering can have a more casual look, without aligning letters in between. We'll draw the lower terminals with a sharper endings than the upper ones. Another feature of these letters will be their tendency to be rounded. You will notice it especially on what seems to be some kind of belly of the A, P, B and D letters. In order to make the sentence look a little more clumsy and spontaneous, the stems are not perfectly vertically aligned, nor the proportion between letters is equal. Each letter has a character of its own. Let's also add a secondary thinner strokes to the phrase to reinforce it. They will follow the main shapes, but in the lower left corner. During the whole process, we have only used one type of brush for letters, as well as for flowers. As you can see, there is no need in wide range of brushes in this case. To see clearer what the lettering looks like, you can deactivate the rest of the layers while defining it. Also, if you use only one color, such as black, it will be easier to concentrate on the shapes themselves before adding colors. To adjust the composition, as it feels like the flowers and the weed should have more space in between, use lasso and rotation option to place it where it feels a better fit. Now we will give a use to our eraser tool. It's especially useful for defining weed shapes on our drawing. As you've already noticed, I've deactivated the initial sketch after filling the whole thing with color. Now we are placing details on all elements by using lighter color and defining more precisely each flower's features. The dark red color strokes in combination with eraser help us to modulate the volume of each petal. We can pay special attention now to the plants surrounding the poppies. The plants resembling wheat on its top has a series of so-called long hairs following the direction of each grain. So at the same time as erasing the internal shapes which define the grains, we will add some strokes around its top. The leaves of these plants also require few strokes made by eraser every now and then to give a lively sensation. Don't forget about the poppy spots. These cute little boxes have an unusual form. To me it resembles a typical iron chimney. Let's place some lighter strokes on its top. As well, we can define better the central pollen part of the poppy. You can use lasso or just an eraser, as you wish, as the pollen is inside of separate layer, as well as strands that surround it. I prefer to give them a more accentuated tear shape, to make them look more organic. On the other hand, one should not forget that we are looking also to integrate lettering with the rest of the composition, so we'll make some of the stems overlap flowers. Such is the case of H letter. Okay, we are finally done with the spot. Let's give some color to the quote. I'd rather prefer it greenish instead of black. Actually, it will look awesome if apart from using color, we use gradient composed of two greens. Just like this. Select the shapes of the lettering and then apply gradient over it. So, let's refine some details. We will make the petals of poppies look more realistic by placing strokes and disrupting the form of the internal shadows of the flowers. Just in places where the petal is overlapping each other by using both lighter and darker red, we'll achieve this nice effect. The shadows not only will be placed in the places of overlap, but also closer to the central part of the flowers. It's thanks to this wrinkled structure of petals that these flowers seem to be made out of silk paper. Then, by picking up dark red and putting some shading strokes near the flower's border, we will define better the form of the flower. Once finished with the red part of the petals, we can work on internal dark stain by using, instead of brush, just an eraser, but in the same manner than the brush, leaving frayed shape. The next step will be to add this typical shiny effect poppies have. One can achieve it just by using a small brush size and white color. As the petals are fragile, this kind of details will add delicacy to the image. You can also add some texture to the pollen part of the flower by using a razor and disrupting the daisy flower form it has. Alright, now that we are completely finished with this phase, clean and polish the tiny details that call your attention. Finally, we can add a layer above with subtle gradient. I'll use a soft rounded brush for this matter, with pink color for example. Let's place these diffuse stains in the lower part of each flower. The layers mode should be set to a multiply mode. This way it will give some more volume to the flowers. The last step missing is to clean in these layer zones where the stains overlap other parts of the composition. And that's it! We are done, guys! I hope you really liked this tutorial. If you actually did, feel free to put some thumbs up. Thanks a lot for your attention. See you in TutPad.